Hello and welcome to the show today. Welcome to In with Tamara Henry. In, it's the only way out. You've come to the right place if you're looking for a venue to combine spirituality and entertainment. Today our topic is the movie Peaceful Warrior. Take a look.
Where the hell did that come from?
And that was a clip from Peaceful Warrior. I'm sure a lot of you have seen the movie, and for those of you who haven't, you're in for a big treat today. Not only are we going to be talking about the movie and watching more clips, but we have a very special guest today, writer-director Victor Salva. Victor, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
It's my pleasure, Tamara. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so I was enjoying the clip there. It was such a triumphant part of the movie, and talking about the way of the peaceful warrior. I hope that we can explore a little bit for people who don't know, what is the way of the peaceful warrior? What is a peaceful warrior anyway?
Absolutely, and I think it's best stated in the book, which
Dan Millman's best-selling novel,
The Way of the Peaceful Warrior, which had so many beautiful ideas about the way that we might be able to better navigate our way through life, being a peaceful warrior, rather than put it into words. Like, the reason I make films is because I think some things can't be put into words, so it's like, that's a tough question for me. What is the way of the peaceful warrior? I would say the film kind of embodies those ideas, but it'd be very hard just to summarize into a couple of
Exactly. And so that's the beauty of filmmaking, and the filmmaking that you do is you're really trying to get across deep messages about humanity that words can't describe, but film can embody and get those messages across to the audience.
I think so. In fact, I go out of my way, and as was the case with Peaceful Warrior, I went out of my way not to make a message film. I think message films run the danger of dictating to people how they should run their lives, what their choices should be, what they should care about, which I think is exactly the opposite of what you want a really good movie to do. I think if the story is strong enough and authentic enough to real life experience, the messages are intrinsic.
Exactly.
And one of the reasons why I agreed to do Peaceful Warrior is I really felt that the producers of the film wanted to make a movie about a book that does have a lot of messages and ideas, but they wanted to make it into a traditional movie that was not a message movie. And I thought that was the best way to, ironically, to get the ideas of the book across.
And I think that's so fascinating about you, because you don't really call yourself a spiritual person. I mean, you say, like, when it comes to that thing, you're more about nuts and bolts and practicality, but yet your life and your filmmaking and the work that you do just embodies all of that anyway, kind of in a quiet way.
I might kind of be in denial about my spirituality, or it's in a subconscious chamber where it's probably the best place for it to be.
Exactly.
One of the producers of Peaceful Warrior told me that one of my previous films, Powder, plays at an ashram in India that teaches Diksha, and it's played there for 12 years. They consider it one of the few films that really teaches spirituality. It's not that I don't consider myself a spiritual person. I'm uncomfortable wearing the mantle because I am still on such a journey and have so many lessons to learn. And the ideas that I get to express in films like Powder and like Peaceful Warrior are ideas that I'm exploring. I think the world's turning into a dark place. I think it could be a beautiful place with much more light. If that makes me a spiritual person because I want to sort of say, what if we thought this way? Or what if we thought this way instead of this kind of core-based fear, and which is, you know, fear to me is the father of all evils, hatred and
Right.
greed and power. All those things are fear-based.
And we can't really deny fear and stuff it into our shadow.
Fear's a
And
survival
you
mechanism.
can't cut it off from ourselves.
No.
We have to kind of incorporate it into the dance of ourselves and learn how to live with fear and have that healthy fear and learn what is fear, what is the message trying to
Exactly.
tell us. Maybe it's trying to tell us how we can save ourselves.
Sometimes, I mean, sometimes fear saves us, but more often it makes us blind. And I think it's really being wise and sometimes brave enough to decide when it's time to put fear aside and go do this scary
Yeah.
unknown thing. But it's a survival mechanism. It's there for a reason, but I think that we retreat to it too often.
Right, so it's kind of a paradox there, and those are hard to struggle with paradoxes because we want to say it's either good or it's bad, it's good or it's evil, but sometimes things kind of cross the boundaries, and that makes it hard for us to understand.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Perspective of what is good and bad, of what is right and wrong is, you know, it's kind of a slippery slope in a way.
It is.
Something great that happens to me, something wonderful, might be something horrible for you.
Exactly.
Where does good and evil happen then? To you, it's
Right.
something evil. To me, it's something fantastic.
And so truth and reality is all relative, and we can't just ever
Completely.
make a blanket statement anymore.
I don't think so. I don't think enlightened thinking will let us black and white things anymore, or as I like to call it, us and them it
Right.
anymore. Us and them is a dead end,
Yeah.
and we do it whenever we get really scared.
And so as we're evolving and we're learning to come out of our dichotomous thinking and black and white thinking, and we're opening ourselves up to this, we have to have filmmaking and programming and things that keep up with us as we're growing and becoming hungry for this. And I'm so glad that you're on the cutting edge.
Well, I thank you for that. I guess I'm not completely comfortable with that. I'm glad I got to make Peaceful Warrior.
Right.
I read Dan's book years ago at a very dark time in my life. The ideas in it were so beautiful about moving away from fear,
Right.
giving up the regrets of the past, because I had many and they were debilitating, not worrying about the future, throwing the future away too, and being in the now, which is, you know, Eckhart Tolle's book
Right.
is really embracing that now. But Dan's book kind of introduced, you know, this idea, I think 20 years ago, about being in the now. I think it's been a great privilege to be able to try and share, put these ideas out into the universe. My films, I'm proud to say that my films, both light and dark, I also made the Jeepers Creepers movies,
Right.
as you know, but I put a moral dilemma and a philosophical idea in each of my films, whether it's a horror film or something as full of light as Powder or Peaceful
A moral
Warrior.
dilemma like man against self, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.